So why do bananas produce antimatter? To explain that, I have to go down a deep rabbit hole of topics people have been asking me to explain for a while. So let's start with, what the fuck does the weak nuclear force do? So applying force on something can change its nature. The force of gravity can make hydrogen fuse into helium. The force of electromagnetism can change how charges are oriented in a substance. Weak nuclear force exists solely to, every so often, change a quark into a different quark. And its entire role is to fuck shit up. It's the fuck shit up force. You may have learned in chemistry class that the nucleuses of atoms need to be balanced. You have about the same amount of protons, about the same amount of neutrons, about the same amount of electrons. Things can change for isotopes, but you're always going to be in the same ballpark. And atoms become unstable when this balance isn't maintained. Well, part of the reason these atoms are unstable is because of the weak nuclear force. Weak nuclear force can interact with the quarks inside protons and neutrons, and then suddenly you don't have the right number of protons or neutrons anymore. The weak nuclear force has fucked shit up. And now the atom is like, fuck, I need to get rid of some mass and charge to become stable again. And so it emits some mass and some charge, and then it becomes stable. And that is beta decay. That is a form of radiation. Now, what are bananas a good source of? Let me get the delta room mean. There. Am I funny yet? Do you like me yet? Anyway, the potassium we find in bananas, and really a lot of other living things, is not super stable. It is radioactive. Your bananas are radioactive. It has a half-life of 1.2 billion years, though, so I think you're safe. Anyway, potassium-40 usually decays into calcium-40, but every so often, about 10% of the time, ends up decaying into argon-40. And it does this via a process called electron capture. Basically, the weak nuclear force fucks shit up. A proton and an electron cancel each other out. The atom now has one fewer positive charge, so it ejects some mass, and now it is a more stable atom, argon. Now, if you notice, the thing that happened there is it lost one unit of charge, one positive unit of charge. Electrons carry one negative unit of charge, which means anti-electrons, or positrons if you're nasty, carry one positive unit of charge. So if the potassium-40 in your banana lost a positron, it would also lose one positive unit of charge, the same thing as it did during electron capture. And as long as it emits the same amount of energy in the process, then you get the same result, argon. And the atoms don't really give a fuck about how they become more stable, as long as they become more stable. And sure enough, every so often when potassium-40 decays, it emits a positron, which is a form of antimatter. And that positron very quickly annihilates with the surrounding electrons, and job's done. I'm saying positron because I'm nasty. And there you go, your banana is producing antimatter. The average banana produces one positron about every 75 minutes. Now here's the crazy thing. Potassium-40 is a type of potassium that we usually find in all living things, including you. That means not only are bananas producing antimatter, but you're producing antimatter at an incredibly slow, basically negligible rate. But hey, some biochemists hypothesize that this sort of random decay may be responsible for the random mutations we see in cells that may cause things like cancer, though not specifically in potassium. So by understanding antimatter, we all may be way healthier in the future. And this is true for a lot of areas of medicine, like for example, PET scans need antimatter to operate. That's a topic for another video. If you want me to explain that, let me know in the comments.